Hi guys, it's Sarah with Something's Pretty Special, and today I wanted to share with you something a little different as well. This is a Midori inspired traveler's notebook that I made myself. Here on YouTube there is a channel I am subscribed to, A Pocket Full of Vintage, which is done by Marianne, and she is all about journaling, planners, things like that. So I've been watching her kind of fall in love with the Midori notebook, and she has made her own. She's gotten pieces of leather and made her own, and then she mentioned another fellow on YouTube, Ray Blake, who has an amazing tutorial on how to make your own Midori style notebook. And so I watched his channel and watched him do it, and I thought, you know what, I have to do this. So this is what I made. This is my Midori inspired notebook. Obviously it's not a true Midori. You can actually, there's a company called Midori, and you go online and you buy their, journal covers and whatnot. So this, I say, is Midori inspired traveler's notebook. So I'm not gonna show you how I made it. I would definitely recommend, if you want an amazing tutorial, you go to Ray Blake's channel, and I believe his YouTube name is just Ray Blake. I'll try and post a link to the video in the description box to the tutorial for how he makes his traveler's notebook. And then if you search channel wise just A Pocket Full of Vintage, you will definitely find Marianne's channel, which is just wonderful. So what I am going to do though is I'm just going to walk you through my notebook, and then I will probably point out the differences between mine and how Ray Blake shows you how to do it, because this was the first one I made, and there's definitely a learning curve into making these. So this one has a few subtle differences that I had to adjust for to make this work for me. So this is the cover, obviously, and it's leather. I was able to get upholstery leather from a local furniture store here where I live. They had swatches that were 12 by, I'm going to say 20 or something like that. So it turned out to be the perfect size. I could basically just cut the sample in half and have enough leather to make 2 journals this size. So this is the other piece of leather, and this is the same leather that's this cover here. The only downside to this leather, the cover here, the part that's treated, is amazing. It's got a slight pebble green feel to it. It's really soft and supple. I really like it. The inside is super soft. The only downside is it's kind of floppy. It's thin. So I knew that I was going to have to line this with something to stiffen up the leather. If you buy different types of leather, or depending on how the leather's treated, sometimes you won't have to do a lining, and a traditional Midori does not have a lining. It's just raw leather on both sides. But this is what I was able to get, and it was free, so I wasn't really going to complain. I would alter it however I needed to make it work. So all I did for this one is I lined it. You can see here it's lined. And for this one, I'm not sure where my brain was. I lined it with scrapbook paper, and it worked beautifully. And how I did that is I just took a piece of, this is Prima 12 by 12 ledger from the ledger pad. I cut the paper out to fit the size of my cover, and then to the paper, I ironed the paper to heavy duty Wonder Under, and it works on paper and leather and fabric and vinyl and all sorts of different mediums, I guess. So I ironed the paper to this, and then I peeled off the backing, and then I ironed the paper to the leather, and it kind of like glues them together basically. And it stiffened up the leather beautifully. If you can see that, like, it's holding its shape. It's pretty sturdy, like it's not super floppy. So it worked really well. My only advice on that portion is I didn't really think it through on how the paper would wear if this were to get wet, if the paper were to rip, or anything like that. So I'm not sure, 2 or 3 years down the road how this is going to wear, but I figure for my first one and a starting point, we'll kind of figure it out as she goes. So that's how I lined this to stiffen up the leather. I did make a second Midori, which I've already given to someone. And again, it was out of upholstery leather. This leather, though, is embossed, and it's a lot thicker, and it's actually really stiff. So this would hold its shape nicely. The only thing I wasn't too crazy about was the inside of this. This is very sweety, and some little balls, you know, some of this stuff, the fuzz was coming out, and so I wanted just a more clean look on the inside. So for this one, I did the same process, but instead of using paper, I lined it with fabric. I went to my local Joann's, and I found the Tim Holtz line of fabric, and I lined the leather with the fabric, and it looks amazing. So I definitely recommend, if you want to line your leather, use fabric. The Tim Holtz fabric is just a basic 100% cotton, like quilting fabric, and it worked beautifully. It stiffened up the leather. It just looked amazing. So I'm gonna make a couple more of these, and I will show you how they look when I line the leather with the fabric. I think it just looks beautiful. So I would recommend, if you are gonna line the inside of your Midori, whether to stiffen up your leather or just because you want something inside, definitely use fabric. And of course the Wonder Under, Heat and Bond, whatever you have available works beautifully with fabric. So that's how I did the cover. Now the binding system on the Midori, it's just a series of elastic kind of bands that hold your journals together. So, and then an elastic closure like you see here. So, this is the closure. It's just an elastic loop that kind of slides around the journal. And then here on the spine, you can see where I've sewn the signatures through the leather. And I've got a set of 3 stitches down here and a set of 3 stitches up here. And then on the middle stitch is where I've hung my charms from. It works really well. The elastic pieces, you can see here, they just go down the center of your little journal pieces. So once this is full, I can just slip it out and put a new one in, and then, you know, it holds them in place. Learning process number 2. When I bought the supplies to make this one, I thought 2mm thick elastic would be sufficient to hold my signatures and stuff in place. Again, I went to Joann's, and this was the 2mm elastic cord, or no, I'm sorry, 3.6mm elastic cord that I found, and I thought this would be sufficient to hold the journal together. When I did the stitching to put the elastic band in on how Ray Blake does it in his tutorial, and then the way you attach additional signatures if you want them, with the 3.6mm cord, it did not work. My stuff was falling out the bottom of the journal. It was not staying in place. When I'd close the cover, I'd have one journal sticking out here and one sticking out the bottom. It was a disaster. And at the time, I didn't realize that it was my elastic cord that was the problem. I thought it was, you know, because the leather was thinner, or I didn't have them sewn in tight enough, or whatever. So, or maybe my journal books were too heavy. So that's why I wound up doing a stitch, and each signature kind of has its own strap, instead of the interlocking strap system that Ray shows you. And that solved my problem. My journal, you know, everything stays in there nice and steady when it's closed. And I pick it up, everything's in there nice and secure, and it's wonderful. So it wound up working out for me. It wasn't until I went back and I watched his tutorial a second time, I realized that he is using a much thicker cord. So when I made the second journal, I went back to the fabric store and I bought this 2mm thick cord, and you can see, whoops, you can see the difference in size. It's just, you know, it's way stronger, way more sturdy, way less likely to jiggle, the black one. So when I made the second Midori and I followed Ray Blake's tutorial precisely and I used the proper cord, everything held in beautifully. So when I make the next batch, I will definitely be using the thicker cord. But I'm okay with how this one turned out. I like it. It's a little different. And I really like the fact that it kind of gave me a really neat place to hang some charms. And these are just out of my stash, just a simple key and like a amber bead. And then this is from the Michaels, the bead treasures, kind of like steampunk trinkets that they had. So like I said, it's, you know, nothing's wrong with how this is put together. There's just a learning curve. But it's very functional for me and I rather enjoy it. So I'm okay that it's a little different. The third major difference between my Midori inspired notebook is that my size. A traditional Midori, I believe it's still 8 1/4 tall, but it's only 4 or 4 1/4 inches wide. So it would only be from like here to here. So it's very long, very tall, and very narrow. When I was out looking for the books to go in it, what was available to me for a good price were these, and they were at Barnes & Noble, and it was 3 notebooks for $6. And these are 8 1/4 by 5. So they're about an inch wider. The moleskin ruled books that you can buy like this are also this size. I measured them because Barnes & Noble for me carried both. I did not want to fuss with having to cut this down to 4 1/4 or 4. To me, I don't have, it just seemed like a pain and I didn't want to deal with it. So when I made this cover, I made it wide enough to fit these refills and to fit the moleskin refills. So that's probably the third major difference between mine and a traditional Midori is just the size. But for me, this size works best. I don't have to worry about chopping these refills down. I can just buy them as needed, slip them in there, and it's good to go. I don't have to worry about fussing if the edges are straight, if it's a clean cut, if anything. So that's the other main difference is size. Like I said, height-wise, it's fine. Mine's just about an inch to an inch and a quarter wider than traditionally it is. But the nice thing is you can size these to however you want. If you wanted this to fit composition book size, which I think is like the A5 size, you could definitely, as long as your piece of leather was big enough, you could definitely make it to house this. It's really adaptable to whatever size you want. One of the next ones I'm going to make, I bought these. These are 6 by 4. So to me, it's kind of passport size mini journals. I found these at Barnes & Noble's as well. So I want one that's this size. This would fit in my purse wonderfully. So you can really size the cover to whatever size refills and whatever size journal you want. Whatever's readily available to you, you can totally customize it. Okay, so all of that being said, with construction and everything, I will show you the inside of my book. I haven't started using this yet. I have a planner and journal that I'm finishing out for the year, and then I'll move into this. So it's blank for now. When you open it, like I said, it's lined with the paper. Marianne on her channel, A Pocket Full of Vintage, has this wonderful tutorial on how to make these kind of Midori inserts out of a simple manila file folder. In her tutorial, she does use, I believe, what here in the US we would call like a legal size file folder. In my stash, I happen to have just regular 8.5 by 11. And I tried to go out and find legal size, but I could only find them in like huge quantity, and I only needed 2, and then they were outrageously priced, so I just said forget it, and I used what I had, and it actually turned out wonderful. So you get a pocket here and a pocket right there, And then when you flip it over, there's another pocket right here. And this is just the front part of it. In her tutorial, I don't believe she covered this with pattern paper. My folders just had some really wonky printing on them, and it would show up in like random spots after I got it all folded. So I went ahead and decided to cover mine with scrapbook paper. That was just my preference. Here is my first notebook that's just slipped in, and you can see here it's just held in with the elastic band. And then this file folder slips around the notebook, so then on the back side you still have another pocket here, a pocket there, and then this pocket right in here. So it's really great for me to be able to slip in like receipts or brochures or whatever I'm using this for. I've got places to tuck things. And then I have this middle book here, which is just, again, held in with the middle elastic cord. This one doesn't have any inserts around it. It's just by itself. And then this here is, I did a second one of the file folders, and I covered it with matching paper. And I'm not sure, I decided on this one I didn't want the angled pocket, so I just left this one square. So this one here, and then this one here. And I left this open at the top, so I could just tuck things behind it. I didn't want to seal it off. So on this one I did a little different. I just left it open, but it's totally your preference. And then inside pocket here. These I did angle because it's really awkward if you don't, and you don't really get the space here for your journal to sit, because it kind of sits, you know, around your insert. Then again, a third book. And then this is the back side. So again, angled pocket here, and then a pocket here. And I left this one open as well. I just thought for like, you know, if I do take this with me on vacation for brochures, you know, like park maps and different hotel brochures and stuff, it'll just be real easy to slide them in. And that way, if they stick out the top a little bit, if they're a little bit taller, you know, I'm not worried about trying to like fold it in half and stuff it in there. It can just stick out and be fine. And then there's the back cover to my Midori. I've had this made, I'm going to say, for like probably 2 weeks now. And the paper's actually held up really well. So I'm optimistic that this will do well. I don't, you know, the edges don't seem to be fraying or anything like that. So it seems to be holding up well. So I'm really hopeful that it'll work. And so that's my notebook. Close it up. And it's just, you know, everything is just held in there nice and tidy. And it works. I think it's going to work beautifully. The other nice thing I will say about this is, obviously, you know, if these elastic strings break, if this thing gets jam-packed or whatever, the nice thing about it being such a reusable cover, I can easily go in and rethread it here with this thicker cord if I need to, when and if this breaks. So even if this whole binding system were to fall apart tomorrow, I'm not losing anything. I'm not losing the journal. I just have to rethread it and it'll be as good as new. So definitely very reusable, very recyclable, and I really like that. Especially, you know, if you're using it as a travel book, you can easily just take it with you on your trip, use it, do your art journaling, your doodling, your notes, your vacation memories, use it as a smash book. When you come home, you can then take out the inserts, take out all your goodies, put it however you're storing it, refill it with some refills, and off you go on your next adventure, and you've got like a brand new notebook to take with you for your next trip. So I'm really excited about this. I can't wait to start using it. So definitely, if you're interested in learning how to do this or wants, you know, some more inspiration, I would definitely go over to Ray Blake's channel and to Marianne over at A Pocket Full of Vintage. They did an amazing job kind of describing and how they use this and everything, and it was very inspirational. So a big thank you. And for everyone that's watching my video, thank you for watching, and I hope you were inspired and maybe we'll make one for yourself. I know I have enjoyed this immensely. Have a wonderful day, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.